Hello again. This video is to demonstrate how to set the Ethernet settings on the Accublast. So right now this is for using with a Haas. So you can use it with the deprint function or with the machine data collection function. So just to back up a bit to explain what the system expects as far as what's between it and the control. When you go to the store and you buy something like a printer, you bring it home, you plug it into your network, and more or less things just kind of work. That technology is basically automatic IP address handling called DHCP. So this system currently, it expects you to have DHCP. Now, I don't believe the Haas control is going to do that for you. So what we expect is that you're going to have a router of some type between the Accublast and the milling machine controller. So that could be your wireless router that you have that your machine might be connected to. But in that case, this doesn't have Wi-Fi, so you'd need to connect an Ethernet cable between the inputs board and one of the ports on your wireless router. Most likely, the easiest thing is, for cabling and everything, you're going to want to maybe install a router right at the machine, in the machine cabinet perhaps, or at the machine cabinet. So basically you can pick up like a super cheap wireless router, even though you're not going to use the wireless aspect of it. So like a TP-Link N300, I think they're like super cheap on Amazon, and we've confirmed that those work. So basically what you do is you enable, even if you're on Wi-Fi on your control, you can enable the wired connection as well, and they can run on different networks. So you enable the wired connection, you install the router and you power it, and then you have an Ethernet cable between your control and the router, and then between the Accublast and the router as well. And what'll happen is the router is what has the DHCP function, and it's going to automatically assign an IP address to your mill, and it's going to assign an IP address to the Accublast. So that's what we expect. We're also investigating a direct connection between the Accublast and the Haas control, but as it stands right now, this what I just described is the way we would expect that you'd have it connected. So having said that, you're in your control under your wired connection, you're going to set it to automatic IP address. And then once you connect your router, you'll see that on your settings page, you'll see that the mill has been given an IP address automatically. So then what you can do is when you plug the Accublast into the router as well with another Ethernet cable, you can go on the display, and sorry, these aren't in their enclosures. These are just on the bench for testing. But you scroll through and go to settings at the bottom, rotate the knob. Now this pulls up the IP information. So basically what it's going to tell you is what your nozzle IP address is. So this has been automatically assigned to it by the router. Then this is the more interesting part. You, on this CNC IP, I know this is probably very hard to read on this screen, but the third line down is CNC IP. This is where you're going to manually set the IP address that you see in the control under your wired connection, the IP address of the mill. So you input that here. So it's going to have an IP address, and then depending on what method of communication you're going to want to use, you will have to assign the port. So this fourth line down says CNC port. So as you press the knob down, you scroll through all the areas that you can adjust. So you'll see that different parts of the IP address turn green, so you can set them. And then down the 4 digits of the port you'll be able to set. So basically the easiest way for me to demonstrate this is going to be to show you how to connect to my computer right now. So through the magic of this very hokey camera mount that I'm using, I'll be able to show you my screen and then also show you the Accublast. So I'm going to set the CNC IP to my computer's IP address. So that's going to be 192.168.1, so 1 and then 7.4. That's interesting, actually. Strange. It's actually a higher number than the nozzle. So you scroll all the way down until we get to 74. 74. Now the port, I'm going to go ahead and set that to 5100. I believe 5100 is what the machine data collection port is on the Haas by default. So anyway, we've got this all set, and now it says here, press back to exit or A to save. So if this actually had its enclosure on, you'd see that this button here is labeled A. So we're going to press A because we want to save this. So everything's going to reset when you do this. And then we're going to go back in. The first thing we're going to do is make sure that those settings stuck. So let's see. So there we go, 192.168.1.7.4 and port 5100. Great. Now we're going to press back to exit. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a couple things here, is we're going to use the same program that Haas shows you when you're experimenting with dprint over Ethernet. They'll show you, they have tutorials on how to connect to your computer from the mill. So we're going to kind of do the same thing. We are going to do a direct connection here. Actually, I'm not going to be able to show you this for a reason that when we ship you these units, they're in client mode. So they're meant to be a client and your control is going to be the server. So I was just going to show you through PuTTY how to send tool commands to it and have it listen. But in order for me to do that, I'd have to change the Accublast to a server configuration, and we don't need to do that. So the other thing we're going to do, I'll show you how the mill is going to communicate with it. So I'm going to go into Visual Studio, and I'm going to load sorry, I know this isn't straight, but it just is what it is right now. So I've got a Haas emulator program here. So we're going to run this. And we're going to see if we can get this to go. So it's basically saying, I'm not sure how much of this you can see. You can't see what I'm doing. There we go. Basically up in the top corner here, we're starting the control on port 5100, and you can see it's detected that a new client's connected. So if we look, we're saying the current tool number is tool 4. So we're going to go back down to the Accublast. Oh, sorry, this is so bad. Just don't want everything to fall over. We're going to go back down to the Accublast here. And right now it's on tool 2, right? So we're going to switch to auto mode. We're going to go past X7A, pulse, new generation control. We're going to go one further to machine data collection, MDC. So you can see it instantly detected that we're on tool 4. And you heard the servo change positions and bang around on the desk. So if we go back up here, you can see what's happening in the background. The Accublast is querying the control, and it is listening to the response that the control generates. So this is the same response that your control is going to spit out. So let's go back down to tool 1. So, and I'm sure maybe you heard that in the background, that the nozzle has already changed positions. We'll just go down and look. So you can see it's already picked up that we're on tool 1. So that's how the machine data collection system works, and you know how you can configure it. And you know what, maybe I will just also show the putty method as well. Yeah, I'll do that. So I'm going to stop this server. Jeez, this is a really terrible video, I know. Sorry, you can't really see the screen very well. Anyway, I'm going to stop this server. Now I'm going to go in. So you can actually do this too. So I'm going to start a new window. So if you go back down, and sorry for people who know how this works, this is going to be super boring. So if we go back down and we go back into that settings page, and we remember what the IP address is, 192.168.173. So let's go back up to the address bar here. And I gotta drop this down because you can't see that. So we're gonna go in here and we're gonna type that in. We're just gonna go 192.168.173. So this is the address for the Accublast. And basically, I had already saved the username and password, but it's right on the screen, on the settings screen. The username is admin and the password is admin. So you type those in when it asks, and then it will remember that. So now we're into the configuration of the Ethernet module inside the Accublast. So we can switch this to a server configuration. So right now it's set to TCP client, and we're going to want to set it to TCP server. That's really the only change we need to make. You know, local port 0, we can just give it a port just for fun, local port. So we're going to save this. Saving it is going to cause the module to restart. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open putty. And so here, I'll drag this over so you can see it. And I've kind of got this started here. So 192.168, what was it? 173, right? So I'm going to add a 3. Local port was, what did I say, 10? Gave it some random number. So this is the Accublast IP address, and this is the Accublast port. Connection can either be raw or telnet, but we're just going to go open. Now it's detecting these queries probably because it's still on MDC mode. So we're going to switch this now. So we don't want it on machine data collection mode anymore. We want it on NGC, which is new generation control. Actually, this will also work on off, I believe, just the way that it's programmed right now. So anyway, you see we're on tool 1. Let's just go ahead and see if we can't get it to pick up a new tool number. So the tool commands, if you're going to deprint, this goes, it's the same for RS-232 as it is for Ethernet. So the only thing you have to send is a capital T and then a 3-digit tool number. It always has to be 3 digits. So if it's tool 1, it's going to be capital T, 0, 0, and then 1. But we're going to try tool 2. So T002, and I'm going to hit enter. You could hear that the nozzle moved, and that's because it did pick up on the tool change. So this shows you how the deprint method works. So basically, and we don't have one finalized yet, but in your control, we're going to come up with a macro that gets run, and maybe you're going to put it in your tool change macro, or you're going to put it in your post processor. So when it calls, you know, M6, it's also going to call this other macro where it's going to basically deprint the current tool number. So when it calls this macro, it's going to spit out, you know, T002 or T, you know, I'll go T, well, 010. you know, goes to tool 10. So that's basically how that method works. That one we don't have working yet. And, you know, it turns out that Haas, it's an option to run macros. I just caught that luckily. It's an option to run macros, so a lot of people don't have that. So that's why the machine data collection option is really good. And that's kind of the primary focus right now, is to have this running properly. Because it doesn't require any macros. It's relatively simple to set up. We've got a few units in the field now, as of right now. Probably most of you watching this video are those people that are receiving them to do the final testing for us. So we hope to have this dialed in and working very reliably soon. I believe there's a good chance this is already working reliably, and we just need to confirm it. You know, so we'll turn this emulator back on just for fun. Yeah, this whole thing is off kilter, I know, but so we're gonna start the server. Oh, of course. So what we need to do, if we want to go back to this mode, we actually have to change this back to TCP client. Save, restart. Okay. We'll just give it a minute to restart. Actually, this is on, so you can see, you know, new client connected, current tool number 1, and you heard the servo move already. So it automatically has already jumped back on the machine data collection train, if you will. So that's basically how the Ethernet system works on it. Hopefully this video is enough for you guys to be able to configure it and test this. If you have any questions, please let me know. Those of you that have the unit have my contact information. So good luck, and please let me know how you make out with it. All right, thanks.